The year was 2025, and like most days, Michael Thomas was juggling far more than one man should. At 36, he had long grown used to balancing exhaustion with necessity. A single dad to a 6-year-old girl named Emma, Michael worked 2 jobs. One, remote data entry gig that paid the bills, and another delivering groceries late at night. Life wasn't glamorous. His days blurred into each other, a mix of early mornings, tired lunches, school pickups, and bedtime lullabies. He had no time for dating, no patience for distractions, and certainly no interest in fairy tales. That's why what happened that Thursday afternoon felt like fiction. It had rained earlier, the sky was gray, and the parking lot of the Strip Mall looked like a mirror with all the puddles reflecting headlights and dark clouds. Michael had picked Emma up from after-school care, and she'd fallen asleep in her booster seat on the ride over to the grocery store. He decided to leave her in the locked car, windows cracked, just for 5 minutes, enough time to grab a few essentials. As he stepped out and made his way toward the store, something caught his eye. A woman, lying on the wet concrete near a high, sleek black BMW with its hazard lights flashing. At first, he thought she might be hurt, or worse. People passed her without a second glance. A man walking a dog looked at her, shook his head, and walked on. One teenager actually took out his phone, recorded a short video, and laughed. No one stopped. Michael hesitated for just a second, then walked briskly toward her. The woman was in her mid-30s, dressed in a soaked cream-colored pantsuit, one heel missing, her hair in a mess of expensive curls flattened by rain. Her makeup had run, but it wasn't from water. She had clearly been crying. Her head lolled to one side. She was conscious, but barely. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" he asked, kneeling next to her. Her eyelids flickered open. There was something both sharp and shattered in her hazel eyes. She took a ragged breath, tried to sit up, and whispered something barely audible. "I own this whole building." Michael leaned in. "What did you say?" She repeated, a little more clearly this time. "I own this whole building." He paused. Was she drunk? Hallucinating? He didn't smell alcohol. Her speech wasn't slurred, just weak, vulnerable, desperate, and more than anything, tired. He pulled out his phone and called 911. While waiting for the ambulance, he stayed by her side, shielding her from curious onlookers and murmuring reassurances. He didn't ask any more questions. He just held her hand. When the EMTs arrived, they asked if he was her relative. He shook his head but still followed them to the hospital in his car. Emma, still asleep in the back, never knew. At the hospital, he waited. No one came to check on her. No family, no assistants, no friends. A nurse finally approached and said the woman was awake and asking to speak to the man who found her. Her name was Rachel Lynn. What Michael didn't know then, and would soon learn, was that she hadn't been exaggerating. Rachel Lynn was the CEO of Lynn Global Properties, a billion-dollar real estate empire. She was heiress to one of California's most lucrative commercial development portfolios. Her company owned nearly every unit in that shopping center, and hundreds more like it across the country. But in that hospital bed, Rachel wasn't a billionaire. She was a woman unraveling. "My father died last fall," she told Michael, her voice quiet and raw. "Everything fell apart after that. They're trying to force me out. People I trusted. I had a panic attack in the parking lot. I hadn't slept in 2 days. I didn't want to die, I just, couldn't move anymore." Michael didn't know what to say, so he said the only honest thing he could. "I'm glad you didn't stop moving." They talked for 15 minutes. Before he left, he gave her his number. "In case you ever need someone who doesn't want your money," he said, half joking. She gave him a sad smile. 2 days later, she called. They met for coffee. Then again. And again. Their conversations deepened. About life, pressure, parenting, and pain. Michael shared stories of being a young dad after Emma's mother left, of struggling to afford health insurance, of his daughter's obsession with space, and how he couldn't afford to send her to the science camp she wanted. Rachel listened. She didn't interrupt, didn't judge, didn't offer solutions, just listened. And that, for Michael, meant more than anything. Rachel, in turn, opened up in ways she never had with anyone. She spoke of her father, how he had raised her to be tough but never showed her how to be soft. How she felt like a fraud in every boardroom she walked into, no matter how powerful she appeared. How she hadn't had a real friend in over a decade. They became that for each other. Real. Grounded. Then Emma met her. It happened by accident. Rachel dropped off groceries at Michael's apartment one evening, and Emma, curious as ever, peeked through the door. "Are you the lady from the hospital?" she asked. Rachel blinked. "I guess I am." "You look better now," Emma said. "Do you want to stay for dinner? We're having spaghetti, but the sauce is from a jar." Rachel laughed. "That's my favorite kind." From that moment on, something clicked. Rachel didn't just fall for Michael, she fell for Emma too. She braided her hair, taught her how to play piano, and always let her order dessert first. Emma began calling her Ray, short for Rachel, and sometimes Ray Ray when she was feeling affectionate. But the world took notice. One photo, Rachel, Michael, and Emma walking out of a Target together, made it onto a gossip site. The headline read, "Billionaire business queen dating broke single dad." That was all it took. Rachel's phone exploded. Journalists wanted quotes. Investors wanted answers. Her PR team wanted a clean break. But Rachel did something no one expected. She released a statement. In it, she wrote, "The man you're talking about saved my life, not with money, not with power, but with kindness. I'm not embarrassed. I'm grateful." And she stepped away from her company, temporarily. She took a sabbatical, went offline, moved into a modest rental near Michael's neighborhood. They went back to being three people figuring things out, away from the spotlight. It wasn't perfect. Michael struggled with her wealth. Rachel struggled with his pride. They argued about boundaries, about Emma's bedtime, about what neighborhood was safe enough or whether private school was the right choice. But they always came back to each other. Because Rachel had learned that love wasn't power. And Michael had learned that vulnerability wasn't weakness. On Christmas Eve, while decorating a lopsided tree, Emma handed Michael a box. Inside was a Lego set Rachel and Emma had built together. The little blocks formed a message. "Will you build this life with me?" Michael said yes, tears in his eyes. They didn't have a grand wedding. They didn't post on social media. They didn't need to prove anything. They just kept showing. Rachel eventually returned to Lynn Global, this time with a new leadership team, one she trusted. Michael opened a local community center for single parents, funded partially by Rachel but run entirely by him. Emma went to science camp that summer, and when she came back, she said she wanted to be an astronaut or a Lego engineer like Ray. People still whisper when they see them together. Some say Michael is lucky. Some say Rachel gave up too much. But the truth is simpler. In a world full of people who walk past pain, two people stopped long enough to see each other, and that made all the difference.